Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have a brand new Mattel Jurassic World set to take a look at. This is our very first chance to take a look at one of the Epic Attack figures, as we have the Battle Chompin' Carnotaurus. And of course, to start the Epic Attack figures, why wouldn't I start with a Carnotaurus? Well, mostly because I actually just got lucky, went to my Walmart, my local Walmart, and it was sitting there on the shelf, and I was pretty blown away because not only is it very strange for me to find anything new at my Walmarts, it's also very strange for me to find something like this at that particular Walmart, because that Walmart, I don't think I've ever found anything new there. It usually takes months and months for anything to show up, so definitely excited to have actually found something pretty awesome at that Walmart. But you can see, as far as the packaging goes, we've actually got a shot there of the Carnotaurus up in the top left-hand corner, which, of course, I love that aspect of these boxes straight away. You can also see kind of a sneak peek back there of the Epic Attack action feature. Of course, our Carnotaurus right here in the front to display, looking awesome. And then 3 levels of intensifying damage right there, which is pretty interesting. And then if we turn it around and take a look here at the back, you can see again kind of a sneak peek of the Carnotaurus and all of the action features that it has going on. And then you can also see a shot over here of the extreme thrashing action, and then down here a look at the other 2 Epic Attack figures that are out with this wave, which is the Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus. So let's go ahead, pop this out of the box and check it out. So here is our brand new version of the Carnotaurus from Mattel, and it looks pretty cool, but obviously it's not very different from the older Carnotaurus releases, and I really would have been pretty excited to actually have a new sculpted version of a Carnotaurus. Trying to fix the camera a little bit. But it would have been very exciting to have a newly sculpted version of the Carno from Mattel. Get the arms in a better position there. But unfortunately, again, it looks like it's the exact same sculpt we had previously, just with some slightly new paint apps and again, some new action features. But it does still look pretty cool. I'm really excited regardless to have a new Carnotaurus, as it's been a little while since we had a new one. It's kind of weird, though, that we still haven't gotten, like, a good demon Carnotaurus. Like, we had that kind of a demon Carnotaurus, that, like, juvenile, which I love the sculpt of that one, but that's really about it as far as that sort of color scheme, and I feel like they definitely could give us more of a darker, more demon-style Carnotaurus, similar to what we see in Dominion. Maybe something that'll come out at some point, maybe even for the 30th anniversary of Jurassic Park. Maybe we'll get a Demon Carnotaurus for that. But regardless, this one does look pretty cool. More of that kind of classic Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom Carnotaurus style coloration. So let's jump straight to a closer look at it right now. So sculpt wise, again, with this looking like it's the same Carnotaurus, just a little bit altered. I don't think we really need to go over the sculpt so much, more so what's different with this one, and that would be, of course, the paint application and the action features. So we do have a really nice reddish brown for the majority of the body of the Carnotaurus. Definitely quite a bit of that going on here in the face, and you can also see we've got a nice darker variation of a brown that runs down along the upper part of the head down toward the snout. You can also see the classic Carnotaurus horns are painted with a brown, and that brown runs down here and kind of designs down into the face, just kind of splotches all around, and that's pretty reminiscent of the Carnotaurus from Fallen Kingdom, also kind of reminiscent to Toro the Carnotaurus, so definitely nice paint apps as far as that goes. We've got a yellow eye as well as a black pupil. We of course have an articulated jaw for our Carnotaurus, as we usually do. You've got the teeth sculpted out, kind of okay looking. They are painted with sort of an off-white, and then we have a nice pinkish tone there for the inside of the mouth. You can see the tongue looks really good. Again, the coloration does actually extend to the inside of the mouth on the upper side, which is also a plus, and we do have a nice gloss coat there for the inside of the mouth, which is also a plus. As you lead down the course of the neck, you begin to pick up again more of that dark brown, or maybe not even so much pick up on it, but we continue to run along the neck with that dark brown, and that brown kind of designs down here along the side of the neck as you move down. But as you transition down a little bit further, you can see a super smooth transition to a light variation of a brown down here on the underside of the neck. You can also see that light brown overtakes the entire lower jaw, so we have that coloration up there in the face as well. And as we continue to move down, We've got more of that darker brown, again, running along the back of the dinosaur and also designing again down here, kind of splotching and spotting all down here along the side of the Carnotaurus. We have that lighter tone of coloration continuing to run down here. That lighter tone overtakes the entire arm, as well as, of course, the opposing arm. But you can see it also leads up and above the arm toward the shoulder a little bit, and part of the stomach region, you know, the lower part of the stomach also contains that lighter tone of color. We have more of that dark brown as we continue to move along. As we lead down the thigh region here, you can see that that dark brown continues to spot and everything as we lead down. But once we hit the knee area, like the kneecap area, you can see it disappears, and we no longer have that coloration. As you lead down into the foot sculpt, you can see it's just that reddish brown that we have for the primary body color. We do have painted nails, which is a huge plus, kind of like a variation of a dark gray, it looks like, as far as the nail paint goes. And no paint for the dew claw, of course, because that's just something we always forget, but it does look really nice again with those painted nails. Definitely a very nice touch. As we lead back up here, we can again see we have more of that dark brown leading out, but unfortunately, as we reach the tail, that dark brown is gone, and we now only have the reddish brown coloration of the rest of the body. However, there is that kind of speckling that you see on Mattel figures showing up here. So it kind of gives it the appearance of having some slight color variation out here on the tail. That lighter tone of the underside you can see ends right past the groin as well, pretty much in the area where the cloaca would be if this were actually anatomically correct. But as you lead out, you again don't see any more coloration into the tail except for the reddish brown and then that kind of dark black or dark brown speckling you see. And the speckling is there. It's not super abundant, but it's definitely there. We also have the fax app code if you would like to add the Carnotaurus to your collection. There you go. So you can scan that. And then, of course, on top of that, actually, we'll take a look at the opposing side really quick. On top of that, we also have action features and stuff. And, of course, over here, you can see the paint looks really good. The eyes are nicely placed. You can definitely see that's a plus because sometimes we do have some quality control issues when it comes to the placement of the eyes. And all of the paint, again, looks pretty much just as gorgeous over here as it did on the initial side of the Carnotaurus. And I would say just as nice. But as you move along, you notice that we don't really have any of the buttons or anything that's visible over here on this side for the action feature. That primarily is on the right side of the dinosaur. So I don't know if it would be best to really show off the articulation and everything up here, or if it would be better to kind of go down and maybe dim the lights a little bit to really see the action features. So I'll actually take a look at the articulation, then we'll do that for the action features. So of course we do have the articulated jaw, which is the lower jaw and maybe the upper jaw. Actually no, just the lower jaw. So we only have lower jaw articulation on this. We also have the neck articulation, which I think might activate an action feature. I'm not too sure. Maybe it'll cause it to make a noise, so I don't want to move it too much until we get down there to actually take a look at that. But you can see the neck does articulate, the tail does as well, but the neck and tail are on a joint together, so you can see they move together. We also have arm articulation forward and back, and out away from the body. I don't recall if the older Carnotaurus figures were able to do that or not, but I really like this one specifically because we can get those arms in a really, really nice naturalistic spot when posing it. You also have the leg articulation, which actually they're moving together, which is weird. I kind of didn't expect that. Might be due to the action feature, I'm not too sure. But we do have also swivels in the ankle, which is a little bit stiff, but we do have that extra articulation. But definitely a cool looking Carnotaurus. Really excited to have another one in the Mattel line, so let's go ahead and check out the action features. So if we kind of dim the lights a little bit, obviously we still have some light, we'll get a better look at how this all works. So we have a button right here. Okay, so that's going to operate the jaw. We do actually have numerous different noises there. Didn't really need to dim the lights for that one. But we also have this button here. Oh, we're still lighting up there. That is actually really cool. Like, I didn't expect this to be quite as cool as it is. When I had initially seen the images of these Epic Attack figures, I thought that this kind of damage thing was going to be like a really obvious light all the time, but the fact that it looks like the regular skin, and then when you press it, it lights up, that is absolutely awesome. I actually can't even begin to express how much I love that. And then we also have this part. So same thing going on down here. That's super cool. I actually really love that. And then of course on top of that you also have the tail. So yeah, it doesn't sound like we're going to get any kind of noises. I could have just did this up there. But you can articulate the tail around and move it around. And then push the button for the jaw. Get that head and neck moving, which is a pretty fun action feature. Something we have had in the past. When it comes to the Mattel line, we'll turn the lights back on here. And then we'll get a size for our Carnotaurus. Pretty big figure as always. The Carnos are usually pretty big. For a length from the face there, the tip of the jaw to the tail, you're looking at about 15.5 inches or right around 39.5 centimeters. And then for a height, we'll turn it around. We'll get a good height here to the top of the horn, about 7.5 inches or 19 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our Carnotaurus. And you can see again, it's pretty much right there in the similar size range we usually have for the Carnotaurus. Not too far off at all as far as a size goes. And to show you that, there is one of the previously released Carnotaurus figures, and you can see, again, size-wise, they're pretty much the same. Looks like maybe the older one might have been slightly taller, but I think that's just the positioning of the head, potentially. One thing I really like about the newer Epic Attack version, though, is the fact that the mouth doesn't hang open like the older one there does, so we have a closed mouth appearance for it, which I really, really like. But the coloration even isn't all that far off, just a little bit darker patterning and a slightly different brownish tone. But one thing that I did notice is a little bit different. Well, first of all, the legs are in the same position. You can see definitely the same sculpt overall, but the tails are a little different. You can see that the newer one has a thicker tail, also less of a curve, and it slightly bends the opposite way. So a little bit of difference between the two, but not too much, not enough that it's like a really big difference overall. I don't feel like we need many comparisons this time around either. We can see it's obviously very similar in size to the more recently released variations of Carnotaurus, but for one final comparison, you can see what it looks like here next to a Mattel Dilophosaurus and Velociraptor. So this brand new Epic Attack Carnotaurus is really cool, actually, and even though, of course, there's always a little bit of room for improvement, there's honestly not much for this one. Like, overall, I think it looks great. The only thing I would have personally liked to have seen would have been a little bit more of that darker patterning running out onto the tail, and this thing would have been absolutely excellent because we actually have painted nails, we have really nice coloration almost the entire way through. I do at least like the fact that we have that kind of speckling out onto the tail, adding just a little bit of extra color to it, but even still, again, I think it looks really good and definitely is another really fun version of the Carnotaurus. Like I said earlier, I would love to see a newly sculpted Carnotaurus. I actually wouldn't even mind seeing the one that we had, that kind of juvenile Carnotaurus in the Dominion line. I would like to see that one kind of upsized and upscaled to a similar size to this. That wouldn't be such a bad thing. But regardless, this is still a pretty fun sculpt, and does have a slight amount of difference compared to the older one with the repositioning of the tail, and actually just an entirely new tail, I would say, because the tail is a bit thicker than the older tail. On top of the, again, pretty darn nice looking sculpt, we also have, again, the decent paint, but on top of that, we have some pretty nice articulation, and on top of that, we also have the new action features for this one, and of course, one of which is that kind of movement where you use the tail to kind of control the neck. You can also push a button to open and articulate the jaw, which is pretty fun. The button where you push the jaw actually does have a pretty cool sound effect to it. And we also have the two Epic Attack buttons. And I like the fact that each button has its own individual noises. So like you have dinosaur noises for the Carnotaurus coming from different buttons through the course of the figure. Another thing that I really love about this is the fact that the buttons aren't really ugly. They're not super obvious, like takeaways from the figure. Like, the buttons are obviously there, but they're not like obnoxious looking. They're nicely hidden for the most part, and I can't even begin to tell you guys how much I love the fact that when it lights up, it actually lights up with the skin still looking normal until the lights come on. Like, you don't see obvious lights or anything on the side, like any area where like the injury's there really, really obvious. It doesn't actually show the injury until it lights up, and that is super cool. Again, I don't know if I just wasn't looking enough into these or what, but that's a really neat action feature, one that I hope to see more of actually in the future when it comes to different Mattel releases. I really like that form of kind of battle damage for the figure. So as a whole, it's definitely another really fun figure from Mattel, and now having this Carnotaurus in hand, I'm pretty hyped to check out the other Epic Attack figures that are coming out in this wave. So if you are interested in picking this up, make sure you head to your local Walmart, because that's where I found mine. Go grab this if you are interested. Hopefully your store will have it, and if they don't, they hopefully will soon. It's about $35 for this guy, which I think is a little bit more than it probably should be. I was thinking maybe around the $30 range, but I guess prices of almost everything are going up currently, so it's not surprising. But go and check your local Walmart. Hopefully they'll have this Carnotaurus, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.